Well, spending on education is, of course, very important, and some of the increase in spending have been put to good use. But I think the mistake to make is to think that spending alone achieves outcomes. And I don't think there's been enough emphasis during the period of the last government on core skills, on core subjects, and getting the basics right. And so much focus has been put on the results in the league tables, particularly around the 5+, C+, GCSE targets, that tends to affect what people do in ways that aren't necessarily advantageous to students, who I think are working harder than ever, and indeed teachers working harder than ever, but in a system which has been letting them down. Well, certainly just throwing money at any problem is hardly ever the right answer. Of course you need the resources, of course you need the facilities, you need the equipment, you need the teaching resources, you need the teachers, and you need to be able to pay them properly, but it's absolutely not the whole of the story, and particularly around things like GCSE, league tables. There are all sorts of incentives in the system that meant young people were being steered towards subjects that weren't right for them, that weren't going to help them in the long run, and I'm afraid that's particularly true in terms of the gap between the rich and the poor. So children on free school meals are more likely to have been steered towards subjects that weren't as useful for them as their peers in better off neighbourhoods. Well, there's a number of things either have already happened or are happening or will be happening. And one of them is refocusing on traditional core subjects around the English baccalaureate, the sorts of subjects that we know are particularly useful to young people, whether they're pursuing a vocational route or an academic route, and are valued by universities, valued by colleges, and also valued by employers. That's a really important part of it. But then there's also bringing back rigour in examination standards, trying to stop the sort of gaming that can sometimes happen of the system, not calling things equivalent to a GCSE if it isn't equivalent to a GCSE, and also really focusing on getting some of the really best people, the brightest people, into teaching, where I think actually we do have already an extraordinarily talented generation of teachers, but you can never have enough.